Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity for us to be together and to study your word. Help us to learn and to be strengthened in your spirit and your wisdom. I want to offer a special prayer today for our brothers and sisters in Iraq who are facing a barbarous enemy. Not since the days of the founding of your church have we seen such brutality against our fellow brothers and sisters. I offer this prayer that you give them strength, you give them courage, and that you open the eyes of the world that they may come to their aid. But also I pray for the church in total. For the church around the world is being threatened by an even more insidious enemy, ignorance and indifference. Help us to learn your word, to be strong, and give us the strength of your spirit that we may be beacons of light in this veil of darkness that's surrounding us. We are often asked, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or the sword? No. In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am sure that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus our Lord.
Amen.
Space for you here.
Okay, last time we were talking about mostly what is the idea of Nazarite, no?
Yes.
We were talking about the Nazarite, the vow of Nazarite, what are the requirements, and once it is defiled, how it can, they can purify, and after that, when one finishes the Nazarite vow, then how it should be done. So things were, and basically it was John the Baptist was a Nazarite. At least an outward sign was the long hairs, without shaving or growing the beard. That was an outward sign, and by cleanliness, no unclean food or no drink of any kind. The Good News Bible translates beer, but we don't know at that time there were beer or some kind of alcohol, very strong alcohol, wine or any kind of alcohol. So, and then another one was, I think, he has to be faithful to the wife. That's Nazarite vow, faithful to the wife, only one. And of course at that time people were allowed to have more wives. Even among the Jewish people, they were allowed to have more wives. That's why
they had to be faithful to all of them.
It was very easy, to be faithful to everyone. In that case, whenever you understand that you're going with another woman, that is a faithfulness, that's easy. But that's why Samson, you see, Samson was deceived by that woman, Delilah, no? Delilah, yeah. And the power of the Lord, in the Nazarite vow, it was in his hair. So she somewhere or other managed to get it. See, in the case of Samson, we can see at least 3 breachings. First, he was not faithful to the wife. Second, he drank. She gave at night, gave alcohol and he drank. And when he was out of his out order, then he cut the hairs.
But it was all Delilah's fault. But it was all the fault of Delilah, right?
That's what happened.
Yeah, that's how we always say. That's the same thing Adam said, no?
The women you gave me.
Yeah. So once the Nazarite vow has been over, power of the Lord left him, and he could simply could be subdued by the people. And then he understood the mistake, and then he was so repentant. By the time, of course, the Philistines took him, and then he was chained to and then he was praying hard, and he came back to the Nazarite vow. And then when his hair grown, he felt that the power of the Lord was already came back. Then he could simply, with one man, shook or crumble that building where all these people were together. Then all died, including Samson. So that was a story about Samson and Nazarite vow. Okay. And that was the Nazarite vow we have seen. The next one was we were talking about the problem with Zachariah, asking a sign, or he did not believe, and a sign was given to Zachariah, because inside him, how can I believe that? I'm so old. So angel gave him it is always, I think it's better to see in that sense, angel gave him a sign, because you did not believe. This is the sign for you to believe. Not that because you did not believe, you are punished. Yeah? And Mary asked the same question, how can this possible? And Mary she doesn't need a sign because she believed. Okay, that was a human question asked. And then God can do anything. Yes, Lord, I believe, accept. There was no need of a sign for her. So, maybe a spiritual understanding of the text, Whenever there is a miracle, it's a sign. So, I would suggest always, if you want to have a sign, that's a sign for your non-belief, So, if you want to have a miracle, again, Jesus was asked to perform miracles because the Pharisees and those people that did not believe in him, And then Jesus said, no, I don't give you any sign except the sign of Jonah, He was in the fish's stomach for 3 days, and he was referring to his resurrection and death and resurrection. So, what is usual to our mind? Going after signs, or at least miracles. Almost, for example, whenever there is a miracle, people flock together. That's okay. That's human tendency. That's nice. But even without a miracle, how do I practice my faith? That is the most important thing. For example, in some of the charismatic retreats, charismatic retreats, some of them, some people ask for miracles, especially the miracles of healings, many times. And some of the people go to see that or into experience. I have a disease, and then I want to get healed, going for that retreat. Many times we do that. That's human, there's no problem, I don't say, but if you don't get a miracle of healing, what's your reaction?
I think you're in the wrong frame of mind because, and I've been told that even for a pill to work, you have to have a positive outlook that it's going to work. That if again you're dragging yourself down and you're just not doing what the doctor asks you to do or whatever it is that it is. I have seen people that have tumors, gone to the doctors, and all of a sudden gone. But they've had spiritual help, they've had prayer, they've had everything and they had a good attitude. And, I've seen people go to their death with a good attitude, to accept death in itself because they were in the right frame of mind. But everybody I see that doesn't have that miracle doesn't have that frame of mind, doesn't have that spiritual understanding of the gospel.
That's why, the miracles, we shall see it as a sign. I think that would be always, that's a sign from God. Miracle is always. Jesus always, for example, it's very clear from Gospels. I think it's very clear, Jesus, when there was he healed a blind man, no? A blind man. He was born of blind. Then people were asking, Master, why this man was born blind? Is it because of his sins or his father's sin? Then what is the answer given by Jesus?
That he was used to show the glory of God.
Yes, it is because this miracle is done. Or he was born blind, and then I do a miracle so that glory of God be seen, a sign.
I know I'm really young down here, and I probably have a lot less experience than most people here. But I think our definition of miracle is, for me, on a personal level, I think that the definition of miracle is something blatantly out there. But I stopped to think, like at a real young age, about the times of Christ and putting myself in that era and the times that we live in now. And everywhere I've gone, I have been to a lot of places. I've been blessed. And every time that I come through, I'm amazed at the miracles that are around me. The miracles of life. If you stop and you pick up a book on microbiology and you understand the little subsystem of the cells and how proteins are transferred in, and you pick up and you look at birth and childbirth and how that happens, and then you look at just the way everything interacts with everything. I think that sometimes our perception of what miracles are sometimes misconstrued.
So it's beautiful, no? Very good, it's everywhere you can see. If you have faith and if you have a real frame of mind, we can see everywhere the sign of God. Everywhere.
In line with that,
Everywhere.
oftentimes I've thought is that the fact that we have anything to see, the fact that anything actually exists.
And we overlook it, because we have so much. I thought about the benevolence of God and how much we really complain about what we don't have. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a young guy. I may not.
You think that you're a young guy?
Thank you, Father, for that's a miracle.
Yeah, that's a miracle.
This is the right mind, Father. This is the right mind.
Yes, okay, this is,
We all think we are young.
You see, I just to make an example, I think last year by this time, or maybe 6 months ago, something like that, a brother came from Philippines. And was it in Sacred Heart or Holy Family, somewhere, he is a person of, they say, a brother who make miracles, or do wonders, and he is specialized in one thing. And one of our members of the church, went to see that. He says he keeps in a big jar water, and the rose petals are, cast there. Then when we take every rose petal, it is imprinted Jesus' face or Mother Mary's face and things like that. And there were about this man who went to see that from my church. There were about 2,000 people flocked there.
I've seen him.
Yeah.
And I've seen the petals,
Yeah, they're incredible.
and they are incredible.
And everyone's different.
Yes.
And here is, how, suppose that miracle is given as a sign. That's good, because signs are always indicators, no? Suppose when we drive, there is a sign to go, for example, to Brownsville. Okay, we don't know the way. There is a sign to go to Brownsville that helps us very well, no? That's very good. Direction. Suppose, if that's the thing, if it is a positive help. Take the other way. If you don't have it, do you lose your faith?
You should have said.
No.
What God
Yes,
said.
yes.
Your will be done.
What is the most important miracle in the world, now, given by Jesus is the Word of God. The Bible. It says everything there. And is that miracle done by that brother is greater than the Bible? No, never. Even without that miracle, I believe in God. I believe in God's protection. I believe in God's power, everything. So that is the right frame of mind. If you have a positive sign, that's very good. That's okay.
Father, what do you think Jesus meant when he said, "You will do these and better and more wonders than I did"? What do you think he meant by that? That the apostles are going to do even greater than he did? What do you think?
That greater means, maybe they will do signs, more signs than he. That doesn't mean, they are greater than, they are capable more than Jesus. No. Cannot be.
I thought maybe the transfiguration, where you can consecrate a host and make it God.
That could be, that could be related to that too. Yeah, that is,
Because they're the only ones that can do it. The priests. And
even that is not greater than Jesus, what Jesus did, because, Jesus is God, and priests cannot do what God can do. It's only, and in Eucharist also, what is really happening? It is Jesus coming down because of our request. Please come, and then he comes down. And it is the Eucharistic miracle, every Eucharistic miracle is the miracle he does, not the priest does. So, greater than what he did, cannot be, maybe in the form of sign. Yes. Just, the Hebrew.
Or perhaps what Jesus means is that any simple miracle, for example, that man can do is greater than Jesus, because considering that we are human and Jesus is both God and man. The brother Carmelo, the one you cited as an example.
His name is Carmelo. Okay, so we cannot say that is when we do something, any miracle, a human does not do any miracle at all.
The miracle
is coming from God.
It's coming from God, and we request God, please do a miracle, and then he does it, and he is the one who is doing, and we are not the one anymore. We are not.
Even Jesus did that.
So when Jesus does that, that's why I say Eucharistic miracle, it is he who does that, not I.
Father, just to
Compliment,
what Jesus really is emphasizing, that you can do greater things than I did because of faith. He was referring to faith, because faith works wonders. Peter walked on water because of faith. And he said, ask me to come. And he did. But because he was afraid of the storm, he drowned, he started drowning, and then what did you say? Oh, you of little faith. And then when a person came to Jesus, hey, my son is sick of this or obsessed by demons, I brought them to your disciples, they cannot do it. Can you help?
Here, here the problem.
Why can't we do it? Because of your little faith.
The problem, there's a problem here. We have to see very clearly the subtle difference. I think, not in the things of whether I have a greater faith than Jesus. No, that's not the problem. That we are not. No, not. There, we have to interpret in the sense, for example, it's a kind of a literal device. Literal device means, just emphasize the witnessing factor there. You can do greater, things than me means. So, okay, it's literally they were trying to say, okay, witnessing factor, more is there. Like, for example, when Jesus says, a camel, it is easier for a camel to go through the needle of the eye of a needle than a rich man going. Is it possible? It is what we call, what's called a literary device.
Paradox.
That we call, I think, hyperbole. Hyperbole, no?
Wasn't the eye of the needle also a gate?
Yes. Could be, that could be also another interpretation. So in that sense, see, you will do greater things than me means, literally, they were emphasizing, exaggerating, literal in the sense, not in the real sense. So I think that's the way how can we interpret a little bit better. Otherwise, if you go by faith, if you go by other things, it's going to be a little difficulty there because we cannot simply compare with the humans and Jesus.
Well, it's kind of interesting though.
Just, he was just, yes, yeah.
Father, could it be, because, I put myself again in Jesus' time, and Jesus was there doing divine miracles. They were divine, and we still had people that had doubt, and I see it that way. And Jesus actually was setting up his church. He was setting up his disciples. I can't tell you how many times I've read this Bible and I see the exclamation points after. He gets. It's almost like he's impatient with the slow of the disciples, and he's like telling them, like, pay attention. You need to come in and do that. So what I think he's talking about really is about multiplying what Jesus did about his word and about God and about his divinity on that. And what I think he's talking about to them is, hey, look, you guys are going to make I'm working here directly, but you guys are having an opportunity to make this church go further than you ever believe, And it's kind of like you said, a hyperbole on that.
Yeah.
That's exactly the point I was getting to is when you just step back, because Jesus had a tendency to talk through time. He never traveled more than 200 miles from where he was born. He never wrote anything. But his followers wrote this. His followers took it around the world. He never conquered an empire. Rome ended up embracing Christianity.
Yeah, that's the thing. You are going to witness. The greater things means the whole world now influenced by, conquered by Christianity.
Father, I think one way to look at it, that was Jesus' way of giving them encouragement, confidence in what he was asking them to do.
Yeah. Okay, that's about the miracles. So we shall have one day, just a last thing, just to say an experience. I think Alex, gave you, I think, sent you a small video, no? To everyone? Only to me? No. Yeah, Alex sent me a beautiful video. I thought, you sent it to everyone. That's why I just wanted to say.
I have to tell John, because I sent it to John also.
It's only, it's about a witness of a man who was Islamic, and then he converted into Christianity. His name is Mario, something like that. Mario Joseph. And then he was witnessing. He is witnessing how he came to Christianity. And I saw him, not only saw him, we were teaching together in seminary. And he comes from a retreat center. He serves there in that retreat center. Beautiful. That's very near to my church. It's almost like if I go from that retreat center 3 miles, it is my house. It's very near. And that retreat center, when there was retreat was going on, a miracle happened, they claimed. And my bishop was present. I was the secretary at that time to the bishop. What really happened, the bishop was celebrating the Mass. And he gave Holy Eucharist to a lady, and this lady was already famous for some miracles happening to her. She was not doing the miracles, some miracles happening around her. And she never claimed that, and she was a really good lady, a very humble lady. And when she received communion, this communion turned out to be real flesh, a piece of flesh. And I saw the video taken by somebody, that. And she was struggling to swallow it, that piece of flesh. And she swallowed it. And that was almost like 2-3 minutes, video. Somebody took it. And the people who were there, they were all charismatic people. They were in that retreat center. There were about 2,000, 4,000 people, something like that. And all were talking, so something really happened, a Eucharistic miracle. And that retreat center is in our diocese, my diocese there. So after that, after maybe 2-3 days or 1 week, people came in. And then the bishop did not say anything about it. Okay, the miracle happened, finished. Then some of the people who were the charismatic leaders came in and then asked, it was just spread in a minute, everywhere. Not only that place, in the whole region. And then people came and asked, to have a witness for the. They have a magazine and then a weekly, something like that. That people came and asked to have a witness from the bishop. Then bishop said, no, I don't want to give now a witness for that. And why, bishop? And you witnessed it, and you are the one who were present. And then why don't you give a witness for that now? And bishop said, no, it is not the practice of the church. Immediately give a witness. I am an official person, and as a bishop, when I approve it, they were asking for an approval for that from the bishop who was present and who was the local ordinary there. So said, no, I cannot do that. If God wills, in time it will be accepted and approved by the church. Until that, okay, no problem, you continue. Whether someone believes it or not, that doesn't affect anything of the church. Suppose somebody doesn't believe that, no problem, they have the right to do it. If somebody believes it, that's okay, no problem. I cannot say that was a miracle. I cannot say now that was a miracle and I approve it. No. Understand why he said that? Yes. That is the, but you know what really, that is the thing happened. What I want to say, these people who came, they were so much embarrassed. And they were thinking, why? And one of them, I think, who went or they witnessed, so talked to somebody else, and yes, these priests and bishops, they don't believe in these things. That's not the problem with the belief. We cannot simply validate at once what we see. How many years now that miracle going on, or the apparition of Mary in Medjugorje? How many years now?
Since the early 1980s, I think.
Yeah. Not yet. Church approved it officially. People come and go. The church did not, of course, local bishop, I think, approved somewhere or other. But church as a whole, for example, like in Lourdes or Fatima, not yet approved. But that's a world famous pilgrim center. Why? Because church goes, slowly. Otherwise, much more problem. Very good example that happened in the church. Or it could have happened. I don't know whether you know about, there is a congregation called Legionari de Mary. Legionari. And I think that congregation was founded by somebody from,
St. Louis de Montfort?
No. So that was founded by, I think, a priest, not a priest, a layman from Mexico, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Marcelo.
Jesus. Yes. Libre or something like that.
Yeah.
Jesus said that also. It's regarding faith also. When
No, just a minute. This is about this just witnessing what really happened. That's after that you can say, okay. This man, very devoted to the church and very good, and then he founded a congregation. They call it the Legion of Mary. Not the Legion of Mary, what we say. There is another legionary.
Legionnaires.
Yeah, legionaries.
There's also legionary of Christ.
Yeah, I think legionary of Christ. That is the thing. That is the one. Not Mary, Legion of Mary, no. Legionary of Christ. And that congregation began to, spread, and it is a very now, almost like world spread congregation.
They have a place
in Rome, and places where.
Marcial.
Yeah, and what really happened?
He had a child by a lady and etc.
I don't know whether one or two more. And this man, after that, it was found out that he claimed, of course, he did not marry, and he led a very, saintly life. Suppose these people, of course, after foundation of a congregation, before the people he was leading a saintly life and celibate life and everything, and after that, suppose church began the process of canonization of that man, and at last, if suppose church canonized him, later it was found out that he was keeping a woman without marriage. He was keeping a woman without marriage, and he had children, and he was using money donated by the people to support the family, and all those things were there. What would have been the canonization process?
Big mistake.
Not only mistake, the people, will lose the entire process of canonization. Then they will simply doubt, Pope John Paul II, all the canonized saint, is it true?
For many other saints.
That's the thing the church always asks time. So to approve a miracle, church need time. That's why I don't accept that the church made John Paul II or Mother Teresa in a moment of 5-10 years made saints. No. It should be done in its process. There is no need of a haste to proclaim someone to be saint.
They already are.
They are already saints. And why should we forego? For example, about St. John Paul II. Of course, what church said, we accept it now as St. Paul, but I don't accept. I have difficulty in accepting, foregoing all the process and within no time proclaiming a saint. Why should not we, wait for the no? See, it's a process, it's a juridical norm for the church, at least only the canonization process can be started after 5 years of death. And that was gone for Mother Teresa and John Paul. No, why should we? Should be in haste? No. Because they were world famous. So that's why this is the thing what I just wanted to say about the miracles. Now when somebody is, we should not get embarrassed with these things. This is a kind of faith. Let's accept, and understand in a balanced way about the miracles and signs. Yeah.
I think that dilutes the saintliness of that person, because if you compare John Paul to Padre Pio, the things we know about Padre Pio that we know now, we would have known if somebody did look deeply into his works and what he accomplished. Now we know very little about both Teresa and John Paul, because we did not allow the process to go through, to do the research, to let us know the impact and miracles that happen and everything else. And so we accept it as it is, but
yeah, that's something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, what Jesus, we have to focus really on what Jesus is saying and it's showing. Regarding faith, it started with faith and it should end with faith about our belief. When he said to Thomas, "Come, Thomas, touch my hand and see for yourself the wound on my side, and my Lord and my God," Thomas said. So what did Jesus say right after that? "Blessed are those who have believed and have not seen," and which is us by faith. And then he later also mentioned about the mustard seed, that if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can ask this mountain to move. So that's miracle. Miracles are based on faith, and faith is greater than miracles.
And some of the people misunderstand miracle with what's called magic. So Jesus said, okay, if you have a faith, you said this mountain to move to the sea, it will move. Yeah, I have faith. I said, okay, move. It doesn't move.
No, not enough faith.
A lot of us expect wizards.
The problem,
The will.
we just think. I think. That's the way I think. I don't say that it's for everyone. How about the faith. The mountain is here. And what it means, when I say move, that doesn't mean a magic. Okay, now it flies to the sea. No, it is just like once I read a book, it was for a family when I prepared, that was a beautiful example I always cite about miracles. That's very good. So there were two teams. So Argentina and Brazil, they were playing. Argentina and Germany, they were playing soccer the last time. And both two popes were praying for their own team. And both, when they came in, they all put the sign of the cross before entering to the battle. So, and somebody asked, will their sign of cross help them?
They believe that.
Then the other man answered, who plays well. So that's the way, for example, the mountain is here. And we have the faith to move it. Yes, we have the faith. That doesn't mean it flies to the sea, but that is the will, in God, I can do it. If I'm not able alone, and the next generation will do it. And that is faith. And that's confidence in God. And then I work. So that's the thing, only thing, if you want to move the mountain, you have the faith and bring a shovel.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Bring a shovel with. Otherwise, you just go then, okay, move. I don't know whether it is going to move.
It's very clearly said here, Father, for it is not the hearers of the law who are righteous before God, but the doers of the law. So the doing part, the action part is...
some people are really mistaken that if, the faith and the magic. So, but Jesus never, asked magic. No, it's faith. So what are you talking about?
I get emails from this guy, and he always at the bottom it says, when you ask God to move the mountains of your life, don't be surprised if he hands you a shovel.
That's needed. And that is the faith, the real faith, not magic. Because in him I can do everything. That was the faith St. Paul had. That's why he just traveled the known world. In him I can do. Otherwise, if Jesus could have done that much miracles, why don't he? Okay, why should I go? Take all these tribulations and in a moment, convert everyone. No. He traveled everywhere. He suffered that much. You see how much suffering he had. And then, that's called faith. So don't misunderstand faith with magic. And many misunderstand faith with magic.
Brother. This is a very important and critical topic about faith, because this is where our Protestant brothers rely on so much, by faith alone, solo scriptura, but us, faith and works, right? And no matter how much you pray, if you don't act on what you're praying for, you pray to God, but you don't do your part, don't expect a miracle to happen. For in fact, Satan, the enemy, doesn't matter how much we pray, doesn't matter how religious we are, for as long as we don't do God's will.
The first time I actually
what happened today?
Bread with our Islamic brethren. And dinner was nice, and of course we all retired. There was the father and 5 sons. And we're sitting there having tea and coffee after dinner, and we're talking. So I thought I would tell a joke. No, I would tell a religious joke. And it's a story about the man who was sitting on his porch. Civil defense came by in the Jeep and said, we're evacuating everybody, this place is going to flood. So I have faith in God, God's going to save me. They came back a couple hours later in a boat, he's on top of the porch. Come on, you got to get shattered. Now I got faith in God, God's going to save me. 2 hours later they come by in a helicopter, he's on the top of it. Got to get you out of here, his last year. Now I got faith in God, God's going to save me. An hour later, the house washes away, and he drowns. He comes face to face to God. He says, God, I don't understand. I had faith in you to help me. You didn't do anything. God said, hey, man, I sent you a Jeep. I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. What more do you want from me? Well, the eldest son, who was doing all the translating, looks at me and goes, that's a joke? And I'm thinking, you're in the wrong. And I just stared at him, and he goes, that's a very important lesson. That's the problem with the people here. They keep waiting for Allah to help them, but they don't realize what Allah has put in their hands to help themselves. And he turns around and he translates the story to everyone else. And I could tell when he got to the punchline, What was really interesting, though, was the reaction of the other guys.
He learned to listen.
They just went, they didn't laugh, they just went, oh, they took it like an Aesop fable, like a moral teacher.
He wants to listen.
And they said, oh, yeah, that's very interesting. I said, oh, man. And I said, just to be clear, we call it a joke because we are laughing at ourselves. We are not laughing at God. Let me just be clear.
Along that same vein, there's a song. I'm sure many of you have heard it. But this man, no, it's not an Aggie joke. But he's singing all these terrible things that are happening to humanity. He says, oh, all these people being enslaved, these kids being sold into prostitution and slavery. God, he says, why don't you do something?
That's a song.
And yeah, it's a song. And God turns around and says, I did. I created you. You do something.
So that means you don't go for that, at least. No? So, oh my God, this is something we did not really go to today's our the program about so just a sign. The next one is I wanted to really want to say to have taken the what's called Mary visits Elizabeth. No, the next topic will be that.
What is the topic?
Mary visits Elizabeth.
It's still in chapter 1.
Oh no, we did not say the birth of Jesus is announced. No, we did not go. Only the birth of John is unannounced only. So the next one is 26 onwards. The birth of Jesus is announced. Birth of Jesus is announced.
John, Father?
Chapter first, always not. We are always, in Luke.
Oh, Luke. Okay. I was the one.
And John, there is no intentionality.
The birth of Jesus is announced still in chapter 1.
So, the same angel, Gabriel, is there. Then about, the same thing, the pattern of the structure of the announcement is the same, no? Jesus, God's message to Zachariah and to Mary. Of course, Zachariah, the what's called the circumstance is different. Zachariah was a priest and he was in the temple. Mary was, but not in the temple, but he was praying. So, in the circumstance of prayer, faith. Zachariah was praying, no? And incensing. So, but officially doing ritual. But Mary was praying, personal prayer. And angel appeared to her, and said, of course, the good news. The same, the thing what, angel told Zachariah the good news of the birth of John. And here is the one, the birth of Jesus. So that is the difference. But the setting and what's called the structure of all things are almost identical, both of them. And then again, Zachariah was puzzled. And again here, Mary is puzzled. Yes. She was also puzzled by how, or troubled by the message. Why? How is that? And this is very important. This is very, very unusual to a girl to say this. I vowed to God, I don't know a man. What is the meaning of it? A little bit of a tradition, according to the tradition of Mary. So Mary was dedicated to temple, know that. Mary was born a late child to Anna and Joachim. She was a late born child, and she was the only child for that couple. They were very old when she was born. Again comes the same thing, no? The old people. And when she was born, she was dedicated to the temple. Yes, and she was living in temple. There were people like that. She was living in temple, and she left the temple of Jerusalem when she came of age. That means, her body became, of age to become a mother. So then the people who are of age, they cannot enter into the temple of the place, because they consider that what's called the menstruation period is a time of uncleanness. That's the common tradition of the Semitism. You know that. In all the Semitic traditions, they believe that. That time of uncleanness. At that time, they cannot go to the temple. And after that, the menstruation, of course, they have to do some purificatory thing to go into the temple. Or another thing is, even now, most of these things, the Jewish tradition is followed in my tradition even now, in my church, in my place. For example, somebody who gave birth, a child, will not enter into the temple, into the church. They will keep abstaining from going to the church until that days, 41 for some, the days completed. Even now, in my church or in my tradition. And the church never asked that to do that, but that's a tradition followed by the people because of the Jewish influence. So they won't enter into the church after the birth until 41 days over. And 41 days there is a beautiful ceremony also. They bring the child, even if they don't baptize, they bring the child to the temple to offer. So from there onwards, they bring the child, and then the mother comes.
It was called for purification because it's the purification of the woman, not the child.
Not the child. So these are the things, and so these are things followed there. And Mary was that way. And why? This is only, that doesn't, until now, Mary, of course, had no contact with any man. And she was already gave engagement, to Joseph. And then the angel was talking, you are going to give birth to a child. Here is a contradiction, no? Okay, you are already engaged to a man. And they are not living together. And Mary, from the gospel, of course, that means, once you are, given in marriage, are you going to live like, celibates? No, you are not. And you are not supposed to, because it is the law of the God, to fulfill what's called the right of each other. So, and it is because I think even after the engagement, I think there is a time span. You know that?
Yes.
So there is even after engagement, it's almost like maybe how many months, there is a time span that they come together, who? Joseph and Mary. So by the time when she will be noticed as a pregnant woman, that's going to be a great disaster for her, no? Trouble.
Scandal.
And she could be put to death. That's why, and Joseph saw that she was pregnant and he wanted to leave her. So at least there is a time span between the engagement and the real marriage, and then they come together. That doesn't mean I don't know a man. That means we can interpret that way, Mary never, she promised to be celibate all throughout the life. I I don't think so. Of course, later, when all these things happened, that Jesus was, this is a God-willing thing. That means she promised herself later, after when she became the mother of Jesus. According to tradition, she was virgin without having any contact with Joseph. And Joseph respected it because both of them had the message from God. Mary had Gabriel coming and telling him, and Joseph had another dream in which she also got the same message. So they understood the both of them are, called in a special way, and they respected it. But before that, Mary vowed that I am going to be completely celebrated the whole life. I don't think so. Many people say that. Many spiritual leaders, in order to elevate what's called Mary's position as a celibate and things like that. But in a normal course, it is not going to happen. But of course, that's why I say after she received the message from the angel, she vowed. So before she was celibate, when after angel gave the message, she vowed yes. Because when she said, yes, I accept your message, let God's be done. Then after that, she was completely preserved for Jesus. And her body was never had a contact with the other one. That is the tradition what we have. And again, here comes my point, even after. And then she had no child, she had no contact with Joseph, and she had no other child than Jesus. Yeah?
From
that is
references in the Bible about...
That is the cousins and all those, and even, there were other sisters and brothers of Mary and other people, I don't know, or by the other way, then, the father's line and, the cousin side and things like that, we call brothers and sisters. In the Semitic, especially in the Semitic understanding, it is that way. Again, one thing, a controversial thing I just want to say and then finish. Next time we shall discuss it. For me, please say it, just I'm saying for me. Suppose Mary had another child other than Jesus. It's not, according to our tradition, there is no other child. Suppose Mary had another child. Is it going to affect my faith?
No. She's still the mother of God.
Yes. That's a privilege she took. God gave her and she took it. No? She kept her virginity all throughout. But suppose Mary had another child or some other children more, that's not going to affect my faith in Jesus. Yeah? So Mary's perpetual virginity, Mary's what's called Immaculate Conception, all those things are what's called an addition to our faith to, help us more. But that is not the fundamental thing for my faith. Understand what I'm saying in its real sense? So that's an addition for me. An addition. That helps me, at least, you have enough, so many food, so much things. Okay, you have one more thing. If you don't have that doesn't affect you. But you have more. Okay, one more thing, like that. So, even if Mary had more children.
That's what we celebrated yesterday, Father, the ascension of...
Yes. Even if that doesn't happen, my faith remains the same. But that's a sign, beautiful sign for me of my resurrection.
As Catholics, I think we need to stand firm with our church, don't you think, Father? Because then if we don't, then we're like being...
That's why, that's an addition, that's a gift for me. And that is not the fundamental thing for me. That's the thing only I want to say.
I think back what you talked about, how every translation is an interpretation. And it's interesting when people will criticize the Catholic belief by pointing to the Bible written in English, that the brothers and sisters of Jesus. Now it's interesting, they're reading an English translation of a Greek translation.
There's nothing. But there are people who are really getting offended with all these things because, they are not so deep in their faith. That's the thing.
Well, it's the same thing, Father, and everybody here. There's a bunch of hullabaloo about the discovery of a book saying that Jesus was married. To me, that doesn't affect my faith.
Yes. That's why, that's why we said, so we have